So I'm going to say welcome to the season finale, but it's not. No, that'd be dramatic, right?
Right.
Or what do they call it? The prenumerant. What's that fancy word, Linda? Like the episode before the last episode?
Couldn't tell you.
Okay. All right.
I'm not
Welcome.
that smart.
Welcome to whatever part Colton decides not to cut out and start the video with. We're back, whatever episode this is, and we're recording our Toolkit podcast, where we bring on folks from throughout the industry to share some thoughts on a specific topic. Whatever today's topic is about to be a surprise. So hopefully that gives you guys some good organic content that are tuned in today. Before we get started, like the video, as my kids would say, comment below and subscribe. Otherwise, you're not my friend anymore. Just kidding. Like, comment, and subscribe so this video finds itself in the search criteria for other people searching for insurance content. I'm going to give Linda Strong a chance to introduce herself as the guest speaker today. I have Colton, one of the Toolkit crew, as well on with us. So turn the mic over to Linda so she can introduce herself to YouTube.
Yeah, so thank you both for having me on. I love collaborating with great insurance minds throughout the industry. But Linda Strong, I'm a regional vice president with North American Senior Benefits. You guys might know it as NASB. I've been with the company, and it's been my only company since 2016. So, I've seen a few things come down the pipeline and some things change in the industry. But I love what I do. I love helping people. I was in the Army prior to this. So I served my country. I decided I wanted to serve the community. And so I found insurance, and the rest is history. Perfect.
So your background in the military, though, isn't some generic field. Give some insight as to you, because that's one of the reasons why when I have questions or concerns or needed a neutral insight in the world, I think that you have very interesting insight. So give us some background on that.
Yeah, so I was 37 Fox, which is psychological operations. It has changed names a couple of times, but everybody knows it as PSYOP. And there's a couple of good videos I'll give you and Colton later that you can watch to kind of see what we do in the military. But I mean, basically our motto was to persuade, change, and influence a population. So, when I was in Iraq, we would, have a target audience that we were working on. And our ultimate goal was to influence and change the way they looked at certain things. So I do think that it's helped me within this industry, being able to, quickly read a situation, read my surroundings, read people, their body language. And I say, I love working in the rougher areas. I'm not a country girl. I want to be in the downtown. And I want to come ride with you in Philly to see how different it is from Durham. I think we're only averaging three shootings a day. I think you guys might be higher than that, but it definitely has lended itself well to this career, this profession, just being able to quickly determine, if I had something in the house or not, and being able to fish or cut bait a little quicker.
Good one. That leads into our first surprise question of the day. Do you think a successful agent that finds himself in insurance sales, say in their mid-20s, late 30s, or later in life, often finds himself successful because of whatever they did prior to insurance sales?
I mean, that's a good question. And I do think that if you're a student of whatever industry you were in before, you're going to be a student in insurance. So I think that, I don't think there's one certain profession or industry that is a shoe-in for insurance necessarily. But I do think that if you are a student for your entire life, you're going to be able to pick up insurance and the industry a little bit better. Yeah.
Interesting. I think, and I'll allow Colton to answer this one too. A lot of what I did prior to doing insurance taught me little things that led to successful insurance traits. I started as a paramedic, where you have to learn to operate independently, limited to no supervision, walk into a stranger's home. That's ironic, right? Gain trust within about 5 minutes. That's applicable, right? And then solve a problem. So that taught very transferable skills. I worked for a while with Cooper University and was helping doctors doing quality assurance work. So I had my own schedule I had to set, and then I had to provide them information kind of as a self-employed person. Then I worked teaching corporate America CPR, where you have to pick your own schedule, show up at a site, operate in more of a high-end environment, and behave yourself in like very high-end New York offices and places that paid big money to have you teach them CPR. And these little skills led themselves into door knocking, running your own schedule, managing your own money, and eventually led to a successful insurance career. So Colton, same question to you. Do you feel like in your experience, not just assisting in Toolkit, but working in the industry, agents that have made it because of what they did long before they ever knocked the door?
That's definitely a hard one. I similarly, out of high school, I spent 5 years in the military as well. I was a 12 Bravo combat engineer, so I must not have scored as high on the ASVAB as you did. but my first real job, if you will, out of high school was when I started my agency. So I started like late 2015, like right on the cusp of when e-apps were becoming relatively popular. So like at the time, everything that I was writing was all paper apps. So I used a lot of those high pressure situations and remaining calm and stuff. I think that definitely helped me get that competitive edge. But conversely, I would say that the habits are more important that you've had in your previous career that would transition into sales, not necessarily the job, but the habits that you've gotten from those jobs. So I think that they definitely correlate, but I've seen people come from, like a sales job in like in like a mall or a shopping plaza, and come to the insurance industry and have virtually no success. And then people come from factory and more labor intensive jobs with almost no sales or personal interaction skills at all, and just blew the roof off of it. But I think it's because the habits that they brought over were kind of what correlated to the success in the business.
Yeah, I don't think.
Yeah, Chris, let me jump in there because Colton said something. Yeah, he said something really, really good. I think your habits follow you throughout life, and it's up to you to change those habits if you don't want to take them into your next chapter. But let's think about, like, if we were going to apply for a corporate position, they ask you to put references down. The reasons they ask you to put references down is because, I mean, I don't know about you, Chris. I know you've hired a lot. I've hired a lot. I've never had somebody look me dead in the face and say, "No, Linda, I don't have any work ethic at all. I'm always on time. That's the reason that when you're going at a corporate job, they're going to ask for references because they're going to check you against what you're saying. And I think that, in insurance, especially for young builders, we're so anxious and so ready to get people on our team that we kind of allow ourselves to disregard even some blatant habits that we can see right out of the gate. So, I mean, I agree with Colton on that.
I was watching the video Sean Mike did recently, and he was talking about all of his 4 horsemen, as Craig Harvey would say. And he was saying all of these guys had a job before they took this job. He was taking quality people and putting them into a more quality position to make more money for themselves and their family. So when you're looking in building, sometimes people are who they are because of the habits that they've had for the last 30, 40 years or 6 months or whatever it is. And you're not going to change the way that person is. I often say too, that agent that you're working with is a net spend agent. They're never going to stick. There's a reason Miss Betty doesn't have a bank account. And there's a reason John can't afford his lead order. Like, we need to make these correlations and understand maybe you aren't doing anything wrong if you've got a system they can run on. They're just not a good fit for your system or self-employment in general. So that was kind of a surprise topic. I think have run its course in my mind. But Linda, in your experience, what makes a good agent? Since we got a good one to run on here.
Yeah, I mean, this again, I don't think there is a cookie cutter mold that you need. I think that you both have referenced that you can find somebody from a different career or different industry that maybe has nothing to do with sales, and you can teach them what they need to know. So, I mean, for me personally, a good agent, and this is, let me preface by saying I would prefer to bring somebody in fresh. I don't want old habits. I don't want a job hopper or an IMO hopper. So if I see that, hey, I'm looking at this person and they've been with 3 companies in 5 years, I'm going to question, what is it about them that's making them, change every so often. And I do think also there is a life cycle to everybody. But if I'm looking for the perfect recruit, let me say, I'm looking for somebody who is making between 40 and 70,000 that needs somebody fighting on their behalf. They just need somebody that can show them, hey, there's better out there. I'll show you the system. I'll be in your right seat until you're ready to go out on your own. That's the person I'm looking for. I'm not necessarily looking for the stud or the studette per se. I'm looking for somebody that I can change their life, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and to piggyback off that, I think what was kind of turning in my mind was that leadership is a huge quality and attribute to have, especially on the agency side. I kind of think about it as, it's like, I know that myself, I can go out there and write 10,000 a week by myself, but that is virtually meaningless to growing an agency if I can't translate that skill to other people. So, I'm going to have to churn and burn through people to find enough people with those good habits, or either I would agree with you and say that it's easier to help build good habits than it is to break bad ones and then build up new ones, because people are always going to resort to their instinct. But to kind of piggyback into my next question, and not to cut anybody off, but I love to ask this question. I kind of already know Chris's answer. Talking about different cities and demographics, do you think, from your personal experience, where are you seeing agents have more success in like today's market, with telesales or face-to-face? Are you seeing people that utilize both of them? What's kind of your thought process on the whole telesales model? I see that a lot of people are either for it, against it, or that's it. I usually don't find people floating around in the middle. So I'm kind of curious to see what you think on that.
Yeah, I actually, my wife is in the business with me, and she helps me run Strong Insurance Solutions and everything that goes into the backside.
Right.
And I was telling her, and I think that it's a very valid question, and it's one that if you want to stay on the forefront, the cutting edge of this industry, you better start working on it. So, we're getting into, I would say, the middle age range of the baby boomers. And from this point on, the baby boomer generation is tech savvy. They're sending texts. They're obviously filling out leads on Facebook, whether it's to get tokens for whatever game they're playing or whatever it is. So I think that if you're doing fine now, face to face, I would say in 5 years, the table's going to turn on you if you don't start accepting and embracing some of the telesales world. I mean, what I do is I'm a final expense face-to-face agent. That's what I train. But since COVID has come around, and COVID has hurt a lot, but it's also helped a lot. So since COVID has come around, when I'm in my car in between homes, I'm dialing. I'm trying to find somebody at home so I can go straight to their door and stop knocking, people that aren't there. But I'll pick my phone up right from the doorstep and call them. Hey, I'm standing at your door right now. When you're going to be home, whatever it is. But I think that's a valid question, and I think 100% the veterans right now, you, Chris, I could name a ton, but I would forget a lot. We better start embracing some of the telesales and the virtual sales platforms.
Definitely. I'm big on tech. I love it. It's super interesting to me. And I think incorporating it with businesses, 10X on the back end. I just know there's a lot of people out there that are very, very reluctant to even want to consider that as an option. And like you said, I think in the next 5 years, it's not going to be an option anymore. It's going to be, you either do it or you're kind of running out.
Yeah. And let me ask you this, since this is kind of a question too, and I hope I'm not taking you guys off schedule, but I think we all came in. I came in 2016. I think you guys maybe were a year prior, maybe 2015 era.
Yeah.
So, when we started, I was thinking back. When I started in this business, it was like the Dewey Decimal System. There was nothing at my fingertips. I had to comb through applications. I had to rely on my upline, my mentor, to get these answers. Yet today in 2022, I mean, just what you guys are doing with Toolkit, you're taking it from the Dewey Decimal System to real-time real-time information that we need. I would venture to say that the success rate of agents back in 2016 was almost higher than it is now, even with having all of the tools and access available at your fingertips. Would you agree with that?
That's interesting too, because it should almost be easier to make it, because, you know, when I was trying to learn a product, I'd have to look up the app, call somebody, hope they answered. I kind of learned it by brute force effort, which taught me to be good at it, which taught me to contribute to Toolkit because I learned it through brute force effort. But with all the tools at your fingertips and being able to get paid tomorrow for something you're doing right the heck now, why aren't more people making it? That's a good question.
I think another good point on that is one of my very, very first business mentors in the very end of 2015, who was he was from Europe and, you know, just had a very like either do it or don't mentality. One thing that he said with me that stuck was, and this applies to what she was saying, is you got to be about your business. So I think back then you had no choice but to be about your business. So it was almost easier. I shouldn't say easier, but when you know everything that's going on, you know, running around with physical paper applications and a book the size of, you know, the dictionary with just paper apps and just scrambling over the place, you have no choice but to be about your business and be on track and faxing in checks and all these things. So the telesales and that kind of process, I think, makes it easier. But like they say, easy times create weak people. So it can, you know, it's a very, very specific mindset that you have to have. And I think that people can lose sight of that when it becomes so easy. But yeah, that's definitely a great topic. I think hopefully that brings up a lot of curiosity and things like that for those watching.
Yeah. So I want to go one of two different ways with the next 15 minutes we have. We try to keep these between 20 to 30 minutes because people have the attention span of a wet napkin these days. Linda, do you want to talk more leadership like we talked about to warm this up, or talk more about selling in an urban market? Because I think that's a big hot topic as well.
You know what? I'm good with either. I think we would probably hit more people if we talked directly about selling.
Okay.
You know, I don't necessarily think everybody wants or needs to jump into a leadership role, but I'm game for either, Chris.
Let's do urban sales. Colton, what do you think?
Yeah, definitely. Especially in today's market, like that's really what it comes down to. If you can't get step one down, which is selling, then the rest of it, leadership, building an agency, all the highlights and the fun trips that people can go on, those are all just superfluous, you know, dreams and goals. If you don't have a plan to get good at sales, it doesn't happen overnight. You know, I think that those are really, really valuable skills, and it's a must.
So urban sales it is, guys. Stay tuned for this part because this is what a lot of agents have a fear of, won't do, can't do. And one of the reasons why I think I was successful with these transferable skills is I grew up working in an urban market. I grew up, you know, in Philly Fire for 5 years, outside of the city, in the city of Chester, like working in Camden for Cooper University. Like I was very familiar with the people I ended up selling insurance to 10 years later. So in my experience, the urban market is good because every door is 6 inches from each other. Well, the houses aren't that small, but all of your leads are really not that far from each other. I door knocked 3 leads last week and I didn't even move my car. I would say 85% of my client base is within 35 minutes of wherever I'm parked when I'm parked in Philadelphia. And it makes referrals easier. It makes conservation easier. It makes follow-up easier. When all of your people are all just like smashed in that same market, that's how the debit agent model was built. It was built off of a neighborhood insurance agent. And if that worked for 30 years, I'm just trying to copy that almost. But some agents are afraid of the city. They're afraid of the hood. They're afraid of that tough-nosed type of sales environment. And if you're better for the country, so be it. But Linda, give us some tips on selling in an urban market that have worked well for you.
Yeah, and I want to, before I say any of my tips or tricks, just what I said a second ago about how we started in 2016 and how we are now. I mean, think about the debit agent you're talking about that maybe in the mid 90s. Think about, we complain now if our leads are, you know, more than 5 minutes drive time away. Could you imagine not having Google Maps and having to know your county or your town? And, you know, but but that's something, you know, as technology has helped us, it's also hindered us a little bit because we're still going to complain about something. But I believe just like you do, and I start new agents 100%. I'm going to start them in an urban area. Now, I might not pick the roughest urban area, but I'm going to pick a zip code in a county that I've worked, and I think that they would mesh well in. But I mean, to your point, a lot of the success that you're going to have in this industry is time management. And that's really, really hard for somebody coming from, you know, corporate, where they were punching a time clock. Somebody told them where to be and what time they could leave. So I think that the urban areas just allows the new agents to get more touches. You know, we obviously, Chris, you know a decent amount about our system. So we are going to approach neighbors and anybody we see sitting outside. It just gives you a couple of extra at-bats per se that you're not going to get if you're in the country and it's 15 minutes drive time and there's no neighbors. So, I mean, I'm a big fan of urban areas. And I'm also a big fan of, this might be something you highly disagree with me on, and I'm okay with that, but I'm a big fan of aged leads. I'm not going to send a brand new agent out with $400 and 15 attempts at making a sale. I'm not going to even pressure them really to buy all new leads until they're comfortable and can defend every objection they're going to get on aged leads, because we know that they're all the same. You're just paying a premium for that objection if you're going to buy a $30 direct mail lead.
Yeah. All leads are old leads because they're all old people. I think we're absolutely fooling ourselves if we think that any lead is exclusive, because these people get multiple leads a month, that this is the first time they've ever filled out a lead. You're fooling yourself. And this is the first time they've ever had a final expense presentation. You might be the better of the agents that have been there, but they've been in this game longer than you, for God's sake, especially in the urban market. They've dealt with a debit agent and the now the 21st century final expense agent. Like, age leads are fine. Linda, when I went to Louisiana and I sold 20-some thousand in 4 days in the middle of the end of the world in an area I've never been in, I did it off of aged leads. 20,000+ on leads that were 6 months to 18 months old. Those are the best leads. They're ripe for replacement. People have already made their first purchases or have wanted to make a purchase. They haven't moved or died yet or changed their own phones. Like, age leads are fine. And even when the lead is older and that person's not there anymore, guess who's moved into that home? Another person, low income on Social Security, who, guess what, is also going to die at some point. It's all a mindset game. So I completely agree with you when it comes to age leads. When it comes to the urban market, though, a lot of agents are afraid because maybe they haven't grown up or worked in that area and may lack the street smarts necessary. So what do you teach somebody when they're going into an area they never really even entered in their younger years?
Yeah, so I mean, it goes back to your thought process, your mindset. So you kind of got to know where the agent is before you even attempt to put them in an area. But I try to instruct our new guys that it's going to take, in my opinion, it's going to take about 200 doors before you would be willing to go knock on the White House door and not be scared of it. So, you know, nobody's ever good at anything when they first start. You know, so you've got to work through that. There's got to be some progression. But I mean, the biggest thing that I'm going to tell them is, number one, regardless of what anybody in the media or social media says, when you walk up to that door, they know what you're there for. So stop beating around the bush. You're either Spectrum or whatever cable service you have, AT&T, or an insurance person. We're the only people that come to your door anymore. So, you know, stop trying to be sneaky or sly about it, and just accept that they know that you know that they know, and just get on with the show.
I used to make that reference, and I was doing this once on a Zoom training, and one of my female agents hung up. I'm like, oh God, she's offended. But it was just a signal that dropped. I said, it's like dating. These people, you know what you're there for on a first date. Is dinner going to go well? You're going to have good conversation. What's going to happen next? You're not saying it. She's not saying it, or however it's set up. And We all know what we're there for. Same thing with sales. They know why you're coming. They know why you're calling. Be confident in that approach. And once I was confident that that's what I was doing, I was selling insurance. Ironically, I sold more insurance. So especially
yeah, don't be scared. Don't be scared. You know, if they say I'm not interested, well, don't just tuck your tail and walk away. You know, ask them, what are you not interested about? I haven't even said anything yet. How do you know that I'm not here to give you money? I mean, have a dialogue with the client. Don't be scared, and, you know, stand your ground a little bit. You paid good money for that lead. I'm going to get, you know, however, if I spent $10 on a lead, I'm going to get $10 worth of answers out of that client before I turn off and walk away. So don't take the first no. Yeah. I mean, hell, if that was the case, none of us would be married, probably.
It's that first state mentality again. Yeah.
Yeah.
When it comes to selling in the urban market, I think you need to be a little bit more tough nosed as well, willing to stand up to them, because I think they're testing your resolve. Not in a scary sense, but are you really going to stick to your guts when they put you up to it? And recognize once you meet them where they are, wherever they are on this planet, then you're able to move forward into that next step of the conversation.
Yeah, the harder the door is to get in, the stickier that business is going to be. Because the next Tom, Dick, and Harry that answers on the door is not going to be as strong as I am. And so they're never even going to get in that house. So, you know, just kind of flip your mindset a little bit and realize that, hey, if it's harder to get in for me, then I've got a built-in layer of protection for my business getting replaced, because the next guy isn't going to have this dialogue with the client.
Absolutely. Also, I think when it comes to the urban market, recognizing that the proximity increases the amount of people that you can see, getting used to going to a certain area. This is an old Keith Thomason line, figuring out what works and never changing it. You know, I realized that selling in Philly worked for me, so why did I ever really change it? So if you can find yourself getting more comfortable doing it 200 times and mastering that market, don't all of a sudden start going to a different place all the time. Keep putting in your lead order in that same general market, and you'll find yourself building that book of business geographically as well. You know, for a while, one of the large IMOs was encouraging agents to travel every week all over the country. But you're planting your flag in so many different places, you're never able to build a base in any specific market. So be willing to master an urban market, because I feel like it makes this business a lot easier for you over time. We got a few minutes left before we have to put a wrap on it. Linda, speak to somebody who is considering quitting today. They're just desperately searching somebody on YouTube to tell them what to do because they haven't listened to all the information they've been given, or whatever the situation is. But speak to somebody who's thinking, I need to apply for a job. I need to go back to the job I was in. This industry isn't for me.
I mean, that's such a tough one. And I mean, for anybody that's built a team, you're going to have this conversation from time to time, and it's always difficult. But I would just tell that person, you know, remember why you got in this industry to begin with. Like, what was it that was so bad in your last career, your last industry, that you said, hey, you know, I'm going to jump into insurance. And remember, if you quit, I mean, there's the old cliche quote, if you quit, you're going to end up right back where you said you never wanted to be. And that's starting over. And, you know, we see there's a meme that sticks out to me, the pickaxe with the diamonds, and the guy's just, you know, he's digging. And he finally is like, you know, I'm done. I'm done with this. And he turns and walks away, and he was like, you know, an inch from diamonds. So, I mean, that would be my biggest thing is, I say this to our agents: success and failure share a crossroads. And, you know, you're one step away from a totally different life. And in my opinion, you take the step forward, you never take the step back. So I would say, you know, dial in. It's not you're not going to find another IMO necessarily that's going to fix your issue or your problem. It's usually an internal thing that you need to figure out what you're running from, or what is chasing you perhaps. But I think that, you know, I don't think that the answer is quitting and starting over in anything.
I'm going to let Colton give his thoughts on this, but I always looked at it like this. I teach agents when you're frustrated, when you're thinking of quitting, when things aren't going well, set a timer on your phone for 60 seconds, no longer, and then visualize what that looks like. Visualize what it looks like to go back to making $38,000 a year. No disrespect to anybody making that. Visualize what it looks like to be given a schedule and not being able to take off Christmas or Saturday or your kid's birthday. Visualize what it's like to be in that environment. And then if you say to yourself, I'm okay with this, God bless you, go with it. But if you say to yourself, that's awful, I couldn't do this, I'm unemployable in that environment, I don't want these limitations, I know I can do better for myself, then put your phone back in your pocket and get out and knock another door. Every problem you can be solved by one thing: more activity. And do more of whatever it is, another door, another call, another presentation, but stop complaining and go do more things, and things will work themselves out. So Colton, what would you say to an agent who's considering quitting today and they have the capacity to be great, they just haven't quite realized it?
Yeah, definitely. I think I'll just explain what I think is a very common situation agents find themselves in. What you said already, plus I'm having no success, I'm not writing business, and I have no money left to buy more leads. They're in that position. As 95% of agents who quit is like, I got nothing left. I got no energy. I got no motivation. I got no money. I got to go back to what I was doing. But I think what I would say is that opportunity, like Linda was saying, is literally your neighbor. You can go knock on your neighbor's door, and that could be your biggest sale of the year. You have no idea. Buying a lead is just basically making it easier. But that same lead is also this person down here. They might not submit a request for insurance till next month, but you can still go knock on their door, So it's like, it comes down to, are you willing to put in the work that nobody else does? Because that's the only way you're going to get the results that nobody else will. So if you're thinking about quitting, you have to ask yourself, is it because you don't want to put in the work, or is it because you just don't like the business anymore? If you don't like the business anymore, then I can't, force someone to love something they don't love. But 99% of the time, it's because they don't have the clear-sighted vision on, I just have to get out there and work. Most people have the it can't be me mentality of, I'm not selling policies, but it can't be my fault. It can't be me. I can't be the reason why this isn't working, but it is, So get out there, do what nobody else does. Knock on doors. If you spend Monday through Sunday, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., just knocking on doors, any development, any street, any address, just knocking on doors, you're going to make money. If you're not willing to do that, then don't complain about not making any money.
And here's what you say in that situation. Then we're going to give Linda a chance to promote herself. If you're in that situation where you're looking to quit, you've got no money, no leads, and nothing left but 1 week of effort. If you work those 6 days and you work those 10-hour days, 1 out of every 75 doors will be a sale. I've asked Waylon Artrip this, Adam Burson this. I've got consensus from multiple leaders in the industry. 1 out of every 75 doors is a sale. Here's your door approach. Hey, I'm Chris. I'm actually a licensed agent here in the state of Pennsylvania, helping people with life insurance programs. You have a few minutes to go over that with me? That's it. No disguise. Hi, I'm a licensed agent here in the area helping folks with life insurance. You got a few minutes to go over it with me? 74 people will say, go screw yourself. 1 will buy. And if 5 people buy from you next week, then you can do it again in the week after. And in a few weeks, you'll buy leads and be back on track. Linda, promote yourself to social media here. Tell people how they can contact you if they're interested in having a conversation, and use that spotlight to help wrap us up.
Yeah. So the other thing to finish what you were saying there, Chris, use things to your advantage. So I use COVID when I'm working older leads, and I take that objection away from them right out of the gate. Hey, look, it looks like you had requested some information. You did it right when COVID was really going crazy. So they've got us just double checking on everybody. It takes a few minutes. You want my shoes on or off? And now I've taken that objection away of, I did that 3 years ago. Well, who cares? I just told you did that. But yeah, so Chris, if you are an agent or you're an aspiring agent looking to come into the industry, I'm specifically looking to hire in North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, and Kentucky. So, we have a good system. We have in-house leads, subsidized. We have, proven track record of making and helping grow successful agents and agency owners. So if that sounds like you, or if you're interested in Medicare, we also help with that. And North Carolina is a really saturated market, but if you're looking for a partnership, reach out to me. You can reach out to me on Facebook, just Linda Strong. We also have a website, stronginsurancesolutions.com. And then if you want to send me a quick text, number is 606-547-6515. Don't put me on anything crazy in any calling list, though. But yeah, I mean, thank you guys for having me on. I love, like I said, collaborating with great minds, whether it's in insurance or not.
Absolutely. Again, Linda, appreciate you being on with us. Guys, like the video, subscribe to the video, and give us a comment so that this content can find itself into the hands of other people who didn't even know it was available to them. Thanks again for tuning in.